Awesome, y'all. Well, welcome to Winning Lending. These are our monthly sessions with Allie Frye. If you don't know her yet, let's get to know her. Allie is the preferred lender with us. She's been with us for a number of years, and we use her for so many reasons. One, she's amazing with our clients, but also because she's amazing with us. She does these sessions as info for us so we can stay in the know in the market, and also so that she can share with us what she's seeing with the clients that she's working with, so that as you're having conversations with your people, you can educate them based on real activity in real time. Allie, thanks for doing this today.
Of course. So I'll just go through some of these slides I have. If you want to jump in and have any comments or questions, feel free to do so. Um, the biggest thing as far as lending, I really just always want to say that there's never a one size fits all mortgage loan. So even if your buyer or you think that your buyer can't finance or buy a home today, there probably is some way, shape, or form to do so with some kind of loan program. And if it's not today, then we can work on a plan to get them there sometime in the future. So some of those things that are kind of more out of the box are shown here. So we do a lot of bank statement loans for self-employed borrowers. Obviously, you all know that you can write off a lot on your taxes if you're self-employed or 1099. So that true income shown that we use to qualify might not be what we can what you want as far as a loan amount. So bank statement loans are great because we just use the deposits for the last 12 months and not have to use all the things that you can write off on. For DSCR, that is for investment property. So if you have investors, that's a really good and popular one because you really truly just use whatever the rental income is for that subject property versus what their true income is on either the tax returns or whatever. Um, and then asset depletion is another one that's really good for maybe like high net worth borrowers and not necessarily having much of an income to show. So we essentially just take what they have in their assets and divide it by a certain amount of months and use that as their monthly income. So first time buyers is another obviously biggie. There's a lot of down payment assistance programs. I went over a bunch of them on one of our previous calls, so if you want to go back and kind of hear more of the details on that. But here are a couple ones that we have in-house, and of course, there's always the NCHFA that I partner with to do the flat $15,000 or the 3% of the loan amount for down payment assistance. One of the really biggies that we have in-house is that forgivable second mortgage option if they stay in the home for at least 3 years. That is sometimes more favorable to borrowers because some of the other down payment assistance programs have a so one of their requirements is that they have to pay that back after a certain amount of years. If they don't stay in there for a certain amount of years, I should say. And then another one that I always look at for our borrowers that can qualify, because there's obviously income limits and whatnot for this specific one, as far as the $5,000 grant that we do in-house at Guild. And then a lot of people moving up, so moving and buying or buying and selling at the same time. There's a lot of options we can look at for them. One of them that we look at often is that bridge loan. We have an in-house one, and then we also have a couple other ones that we partner with. So each one has a little bit different requirement and loan amount, maximum, that sort of thing. So big picture is just to make sure that we're not kind of pushing them aside and that we're really truly looking at all of their options. I know not all lenders do that, and if it's not so clean cut, they kind of push it aside and not take the extra time to figure it out. But as a lot of you already know that I'm not one of those people. I really do like to dig in and figure it out and see what their options are. Any questions for any of those programs or anything that you might have seen out there or have done recently? Okay. So mortgage rates, let's talk about that, since everybody usually wants to hear about that. Right now, they, as of actually technically yesterday, because they're not out quite yet today, 6.44 was the nationwide average best case scenario. So that's where I always refer people to the Mortgage News Daily. That's going to be the best resource online as far as up to date best case scenarios. I know Freddie Mac has a really good one too, but they are always a week behind. So that's not necessarily as up to date as Mortgage News Daily. Um, so I snipped like the big picture for the last year because a year seems like, a million years ago, it seems, but you really you forget that rates were actually higher this time last year. So we were over 7% in some cases here. Um, so right now we all feel like, 6.5 is extreme because we were in these like 6%, 5.99 for a while there. But it's in the big picture, it's really not quite as high as we all think, including myself. So that's kind of where we're at now. I think most everybody knows that it's really due to the whole Middle East and oil and everything like that. So we're all hoping kind of it'll trickle back down to that lower sixes here in the next couple months, hopefully. But that's kind of where we're at with rates. If you don't have the app for Mortgage News Daily, I would definitely recommend that because that's really good to have on the go, especially if your buyers are asking kind of where the rates are and you have no idea. You can look it up right there. And again, best case scenario, so it's not going to be specific to possibly your buyer, but it should give you a really good overview. So basically coaching clients on rates is one of all of our jobs in real estate, right? So a lot of clients are hesitant to even buy because of what they're hearing maybe in the media, as far as rates being high, or maybe they think that their payments are going to be too high for them to afford that. Or a lot of times people think that rates are actually lower than what they are. And when they see what they truly are, they are kind of like shocked. So that is one of those things where I go through that same screenshot on Words News Daily on my pre-approval call to really kind of bring them to reality of where things are, where they could be going, especially based on, their time frame of buying and that sort of thing. So it just gives them more confidence to go ahead and make that offer when they do find that home, and they're made well aware of the situation and how that affects their payment specifically, and ways that we can maybe get the rate to where it matches the payment that they want or close to it by different strategies. Um, One of them being buy down. I've done a lot of just permanent buy downs based on seller credits, but the other one, I feel like we've done a lot. And if you've been around for a couple of years, then you probably have done like a temporary buy down option. That kind of faded out of picture a little bit, but it's still around and it's still a really good option, especially if rates are what is kind of triggering your buyer to be hesitant or they're just very payment conscious, which I feel like everybody is. So this is a really good option because obviously it's lender paid. The buyer does not need to get a seller credit to make this happen, and it would reduce that first year's interest rate by 1%. And then, of course, years two through 30. I forgot a zero there. It's not, not two through three. Two through 30, it's 6.5% or whatever that rate is. So this is obviously just an example, but it's that first full year of your payments, it's going to be reduced at 1%. Um, for this specific loan program where the lender is paying this down for the first year, it's only for conventional 30-year fixed rates. So we couldn't do it on like an FHA or VA loan or USDA. And it's only for primary homes and purchase transactions only. Can't do it on a refinance. But we can do a single family house, condos, manufactured. So nothing really too restrictive as far as the type of home. So to see that kind of as an example here, to do maybe a loan amount of $600,000, to have that reduction for that first year, you're going to be saving $385 a month. So that's very significant to most people. So it's definitely something to consider. Um, we would have that cost of 46.28 paid by us. Um, and come year two, it would just go up to whatever, today's rate is. Um, and they are eligible to refinance at any time. So that's another option. This is a good one, especially for, I feel like people just starting their careers. And so they kind of know that their income will increase. And maybe that first year just needs to be a little bit not as high as any kind of savings helps them really, you know what I mean? And if you want to kind of make it just that much better, you could also negotiate a seller credit into the contract and kind of do both. So the 2-1 buy down would have to be financed as far as the cost for the seller. So the full cost for a 2-1 buy down on this example of a $600,000 loan is going to be $13,655. So 9,000 of that would be negotiated with a seller credit, and then that 46.28 is just a lender credit to be covered for that first year. So it's not quite as hefty of a seller credit as you need to get for a normal 2-1 buy down. It's kind of like getting that combination of the lender and the seller and making it work in the best way for your buyers. Um, this strategy, or really any kind of rate buy down strategy, is really good for your listings as well. So to market that to your potential buyers agents that come in, so they can then obviously in turn show their buyers. That payment is always, like I said before, usually the highest priority. And if anything is helpful to get that payment down with a combination of your seller contributing or just the having us as a preferred lender on your listing and being able to give that at least first year buy down would be, better than nothing, especially in this environment. Um, that would be the biggest reason I think too, as far as getting me as your lender partner to offer to basically be with you offering because we're all on the same page. Obviously, it's super important to strategize during the pre-approval process, but when you're submitting an offer, just communicating and making sure that everybody is on the same page. The seller credit matches if you want to do that temporary buy down or any kind of permanent rate buy down, and making sure that that buyer feels confident submitting that offer, knowing that everybody's on the same page and they're going to get those finances in order for what they want. Um, the power of connection really, I think is I've seen it firsthand, not only just having the transaction move through smoother, but just everybody that much more confident and on the same page and more of a team than anything else. Not to mention just like the um, everybody's more quick about everything, right? You're not waiting on your buyer to reach out to me or me to reach out to your buyer. We're all kind of there together. So using that group email format or a group text, if better, just so everybody's kind of aware of everything, right? So the communication is just top notch. And that is all I have. So what questions do you guys have?
Okay, sorry. I had my mouth full. I was
I saw
starving.
you.
My God. I'm like, I have to eat food. So when we go to give an offer and we're asking for seller concessions, say we ask for $3,000 and it just is in seller concessions. So then we can go to you and say, this is where we want those to go towards. We can go towards a buy down, we can go towards whatever, right?
Hmm.
Because then we're going to go back again after repairs. Here's the thing, and ask for more concessions.
Well,
And I
I've
know
seen
there's a
it.
cap on. Oh,
Well,
oh,
yeah, if there is a cap,
I
yeah.
definitely will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I'm worried about the cap. I always worry about asking for seller concessions up front because they're going to go, well, we already gave you those, so you should use those towards repairs. So I always get nervous about that, asking for too much up front. But I know, like the VA loan we had, we needed $5,000. So I don't. So that's where I get nervous. Plus, I have the cap, right? So then I
Hmm.
can't ask for as much in repairs. So, but back to my original question, that 3,000 or whatever can be used for whatever they want it for. Okay.
Yeah. So even if they're more like I have a borrower now that is they don't care what the rate is, they don't care what the payment is, but their cash to close is their most important thing. So they say, I have X amount in my pocket. I can't come to closing with anything more. So we're using that 10,000 seller credit that we got to go straight to the closing costs and taking that out of their cash to close. So really they're only coming to closing with their required down payment. But yes, you don't, and even like on the listing side, if you market, lender incentive of whatever amount, it doesn't necessarily need to be for a rate buy down. It can be for just offsetting closing costs in general. Um, there is a spreadsheet or a little like image graphic thing that I've sent out before, but I can send it out again. Or obviously anybody can reach out and ask, but the caps definitely come if you, especially if it's a higher seller credit, the caps do come in play often, and it depends on the borrower's down payment. So it's really not like as straightforward as some people think, like, conventional is 3% or whatever, but it's based on how much you're putting down and whether it's their primary home or if it's an investor too. So there's a couple different layers to that.
I
Um,
need to find that because I need to start putting
yeah,
that in the buyer's packet for them.
that's a good
Um,
idea. Yeah.
so I know that you sent it to me before, but my question is those other forms today that you were showing, would we be able to
Mhm.
put that as well in our buyer stuff? Can I share that information?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I can put
Can
some
you,
together.
yeah,
Hmm.
if you could send that to me, that'd be
Hmm.
good. And if you have
Hmm.
that other one, throw it in there, or else I can
Yeah.
go back because you sent it to me like it's been a while, but
Yeah.
I
No,
do
I
have
know
it
it gets
somewhere.
buried. So yeah, I'll
Yeah,
bring it back to life.
yeah.
Um, yeah, um, and sometimes the temporary buy down makes more sense than the permanent buy down based on like how long they think they're going to stay in the house and that sort of thing. So, The biggest thing is just kind of strategizing based on what their needs and wants are and what, to your point, what you think the seller is willing to negotiate and that sort of thing, whether it's all up front or after repairs and that sort of thing.
Okay, so I just had something interesting. Sorry, and I'm waiting for this guy. It's been a crazy morning. He's supposed to come give me a quote on some house stuff. So I had something interesting with my own loan just happen, and I didn't even know this even existed. And I'm so glad I'm not a mortgage loan officer or whatever, because there's too much. There's too much. But so I just recasted my loan, and they said that they're like, "We, how about we recast your loan?" Because I wanted to. I'm like, "How do I get my monthly payment down?" And they're like, "Oh, recast it." I'm like, "What are you even talking about?" So I just did that.
Hmm.
And I don't know. Like I'm like, there's just so much I don't know.
Hmm.
So
Well,
that
and
was like a
I'm
really
glad
good
you're
point.
saying that because I tell people that all the time. Like, you guys don't need to know all the ins and outs of the
I
mortgage
don't
because
want
there's too
to.
much and it
Yeah.
changes too often
Yeah.
too. So, yeah, just don't ever hesitate to reach out and ask. But the recast comes in play a lot when people are buying and selling. So, if they want to sell after they buy, I run those scenarios all day long because they want to, a lot of people want to get into the house first. And then when they sell, they'll take their net proceeds and throw it back onto the new mortgage and get their payment reduced.
Yeah. Well, that's such a good, I mean, now that I know that, that's something else that I can tell people. Like, hey, you
Mhm.
don't have to refinance
Mm.
to get your rate down each or to get your payment down each month. You just
Sometimes
gotta,
there's
I just
not,
had to put
but
a crap ton down to recast it, but I mean, it's saving me like $430 a month. Plus, it took off my PMI. So
yeah, that's another
anyway,
time
anyway,
period. Hmm.
I just
Yep,
there's just so much stuff.
there
I
is.
always, I'm always like, I'm not a lender, I'm not an expert. You need to talk to Allie. So
Well, I appreciate that.
I have no idea. I swear, it's so much.
Yeah, it's a
So,
lot.
so that's all. Yeah, I just want to be able to put some of that in my buyer's stuff, and I'm not going to retype. I don't want to mess anything up, so I don't want to retype any of that.
Yep, I'll definitely send some stuff over.
Okay.
Kate, I'll send it to you and then you can send it out too.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you for all the questions and comments, Sherry.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Anything else, y'all? Well, Allie, thank you for your time. Thank you both for
Thank,
showing up today. I'll get this recording out when it's ready. Until then, have a wonderful day.
thank
Thank
you.
you.